What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the program, Tyrone Bowman Live. Straighten out my jacket here. It's part of being a human being. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. Well, once again, welcome to Tyrone Bowman Live. And I'm going to be talking about former President Donald Trump's interview and appearance at the National Black, the Association of National Black Journalists, or the National Black Journalists Association. So the interview was contentious at times. So let's get down to it, exactly what happened during the course of the interview. So thank you for those of you who are viewing this channel, for those of you that have subscribed, really appreciate it. And hopefully you'll continue to subscribe to this channel. All right, according to CNN, during the course of the interview, this is the headline from CNN. Former President Donald Trump falsely claimed Wednesday that his 2024 Democratic rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, quote, happened to turn black, close quote, a few years ago, saying that all of a sudden she made a turn in her identity, quote, close quote. Trump's comments at a gathering of black journalists in Chicago came when an interviewer asked him whether he agreed with Republicans on Capitol Hill who have characterized Harris as a DEI hire. Trump responded by questioning Harris's heritage. She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black? The former president said. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot make this stuff up. It was Donald Trump who questioned the legitimacy of the citizenship of former President Barack Obama, if you remember correctly. So let's continue with this article. I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was an Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person. He said at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. I think somebody should look into that. Does that sound familiar? Remember when he said somebody should look into Hillary Clinton's emails? Somebody should look into former President Barack Obama's citizenship and identity. Trump's comments are reminiscent of his similar attacks on black political rivals in the past, including the years he spent pushing the false racist birther conspiracy theory that former President Barack Obama was not born in the United States. Harris's mother was Indian and her father is Jamaican. Both migrated to the United States. Harris was born in Oakland, California, and attended a historically black university, which is Howard University in Washington, D.C. She is the first female, first black, and first Asian American vice president. Trump on Wednesday was interviewed by a panel that included ABC's Rachel Scott, Semaphore, Kadia Goba, and Fox News' Harris Faulkner. Now notice the diversity that the National Association of Black Journalists has. When you look at some of the other forums and you see what they have, there's no diversity and no inclusiveness whatsoever. Scott began the interview by asking Trump, you have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You have attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions they are quote, stupid and racist. You had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that? A combative Trump responded, well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a terrible manner. First question, you don't even say hello. How are you? He asked Scott if she was with ABC, saying the network was a fake news network and a terrible network, kind of like Fox, the racist and bigoted network. I think it is disrespectful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator, just token, Tim Scott of South Carolina. The former president said, I've done so much, and you know, I say this historically, black colleges and universities are out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them. I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. It's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that, Trump said. Scott asked if Trump found it acceptable that some Republicans on Capitol Hill have referred to Harris as a DEI hire, using the acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I really don't know. Could it be? Could it be, he said? This is the reason why he's going to lose this election. Still pandering, still cowtailing to his base, still not willing to deal with the hardcore issues. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre issued a fiery rejoinder to Trump following his remarks at the convention, calling them repulsive and insulting. As a person of color, as a black woman who is in this position that is standing before you at this podium behind this lectern, what he just said, what you just read out to me is repulsive, it's insulting, and you know no one has any right to tell someone who they are, how they identify. Jean-Pierre told reporters during a news briefing Wednesday, that is no one's right, it is someone's own decision. In Chicago on Wednesday, Trump also repeatedly criticized the National Association of Black Journalists for the event setup, which he said made it difficult to hear other panelists and delayed the start of the event. A spokesperson for the National Association of Black Journalists told CNN that technology issues had delayed the start of the panel discussion, like there hasn't been a delay in other settings as well. In this whole campaign about trying to continuously attack the Vice President Kamala Harris, and you know darn well she was elected along with Joe Biden. He was elected president, she was elected vice president. There's no DEI whatsoever in this. The bottom line is, and I've said this is going to be a long, hard-fought battle, but in the end, Kamala Harris is going to win. Trump in his remarks called himself the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. A comment that drew audible groans from the journalist in attendance. He ignored a follow-up question about whether he was better than Lyndon B. Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 into law. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln, he said. For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, I think it's a disgrace. I really do. I think it's a disgrace. Well, you know, President Roosevelt, remember him? The one that was president for 12 years in America? The president who was crippled by polio and governed this nation from a wheelchair. President Roosevelt did more for all people of America. Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was the vice president under Kennedy, after Kennedy's unfortunate assassination, he became president. And Johnson was one of the most segregated, racist individuals of his time. Over a period of time, he reformed, he changed, and when he became president, you know, he aligned himself with Martin Luther King Jr. and SCLC, or the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And he did a lot of things. You have to give credit to whom credit is due. Sometimes I do think that Trump gets a bad rap in this sense. I don't think he was the worst president that ever occupied the White House. Andrew Jackson, that avowed racist and bigot and slave owner, was probably one of the worst presidents that America ever had. I am a student of history, so every now and then, the facts start to come out. Asked by Scott Wednesday if he would pardon January 6 rioters who violently attacked police officers at the U.S. Capitol in 2021. Trump said, absolutely, I would. If they're innocent, I would pardon them, he said. Scott responded that they had been convicted. Well, they were convicted by a very tough system, Trump said. The former president criticized Capitol Hill police officers for shooting and killing rioter Asher Babbitt, who was attempting to crawl through a broken window leading to the Speaker's lobby outside of the U.S. chamber, and he complained that nothing happened to those who caused property damage during Black Lives Matter protests in the summer of 2020. Nothing happens to those people, but you went after the J6 people with a vengeance, Trump said. Trump did not answer directly when asked by Fox News' Faulkner whether his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, would be ready on day one to be president. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact, Trump said. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion, he said, pointing to Harris's consideration of a running mate. And then that dies down. And it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually nothing has it mattered. Well, that's what you think. You can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president, Trump said. Well, I'll continue to update you on this story. Thank you for watching. Never surrender.